Welcome to this Creative Instinct podcast production made for the Cambridgeshire Recovery Service, one of a series made by people navigating their recovery journey, driven by people who have been there and recognise the way.
When I was a child, feeling incredibly different but not knowing why. I grew up with undiagnosed autism and ADHD, pretending to be who I thought that I should. And if I didn't do that, then there were consequences. And that was, if I was spinning around in circles, I would be told to stop and I would be punished. If I couldn't sleep properly, then I was punished. If I didn't want to have physical contact with people, then I was punished for it. If I didn't make it seem like I understood the social interactions going on around me, then I was punished for it. And it was kind of just like a be normal type thing. And it wasn't so bad when I was in primary school because social interaction isn't so complicated then. It's very much just like, hey, let's play. And that's very much it. But then you go into secondary school and then everything starts to become so much more complicated. The relationships that you have are so much more complicated. And then you get a lot of anxiety that comes with that. I mean, when I was growing up, I didn't think my brain was any different because I was obviously conditioned to believe that everyone is the same, nobody is different, blah, blah. One day I was in some kind of class and we were told to imagine something. And I was like, what do you mean? I think it was some kind of meditation, mindfulness thing that we were doing after a gym class or something like that. And they were like, lay down, envision a beach, envision the waves and the air flowing over you. And I'm like, there's nothing there. What do you mean? How am I supposed to imagine this thing? And then that's when I kind of realized, I was like, oh, people see things when they close their eyes. It's not just blackness. And people also have this kind of running monologue in their head of the things that are going on. They think to themselves, oh, I'm going to do this next. Or they also have that kind of inner critique and stuff like that, kind of telling them how they're doing things wrong. And it's just so bizarre to me because my brain it's like I can feel thoughts going around. It kind of feels like buzzing in my brain. But it's very quiet. Nothing really happens, and I've never really understood the whole noisy brain type thing. Because when I think of something, there's no words, there's no pictures, there's no noise. It's kind of like I'm grasping into the air and hoping for the best. If I feel anxious, I don't know it in my brain. I feel it in my body first, and then I recognize it and I go, oh, I'm feeling anxious. I wonder what that's about. And then I usually can't figure out why until I speak out loud to someone. And then my brain kind of starts ticking and it's like, oh, okay, this is what's happening. The same with sadness, the same with anger and everything like that. So whatever comes out of my mouth, that is exactly how it's being said. There's no process behind that. It's just word splurge. So if I insult someone, I'm very sorry. But it's very, very rare that I do because I just happen to be a nice person. I remember one day I was 14 years old and I was sitting in an English exam and there was this girl behind me and she kind of passed me a note and she said, have you ever smoked weed before? And I said, no, I haven't, but And then we planned to meet up that day after school and the first time I hated it. Honestly, I hated it, because I didn't quite understand what my brain was doing and how it was feeling. So obviously it was a completely new experience. And for some reason I decided to do it again because I didn't want to seem lame or uncool in any way. And then slowly I began to enjoy it and I started to find the benefits from it. Like I could walk into a room and feel confident in the way that I just wasn't so I wasn't so conscious of my own body, and I wasn't so conscious of the way that I was coming across to people, and I found it easier to fake those interactions and stuff like that. And I also started to have eating problems around the same time, and that kind of gave me the munchies, so I could eat a little bit better and stuff like that. And nobody really noticed that I was doing anything. And then I got to around 20 years old, and then I started dabbling with cocaine. And it was, I felt completely calm within my brain, like to a completely new level that I'd never experienced with weed before. My brain, I could just think so much better, and I could focus on things, and I felt very ashamed of it at the same time, because I thought that, it's a hard drug, you shouldn't be doing that, and all the stereotypes and stuff that I'd heard growing up, it wasn't very nice. My mum actually kind of found out about it, because I had been a bit stupid, and I'd left a little baggie in my pocket, and it must have fallen out when I went to the toilet, and it was just on the bathroom floor. And then she found it, and then her and my stepmom kind of went online, and they were like, "What's cocaine? What does it smell like? What does it look like?" And then they deduced that it was, but they decided not to say anything. They didn't kind of question me at all or anything like that. They kind of just left me to my own devices, which didn't really help because it was kind of enabling me in the process. And then I'd say from age 20, I just started to spiral and spiral and spiral. I started smoking weed more. I was sniffing things more. And then I started to get into alcohol and mixing all of them at once. I failed a drug test at work because you can only be ill for so long. And that kind of, the nose dripping kind of gave me away a little bit. And I got suspended. And my flatmate at the time found out that I was using cocaine and stuff, because obviously I got suspended. And then she asked me to leave. So then I had to find a new place to live with no pay from work, and I had to do that all within a month. And that was a very difficult process, but I came to CGL, and it was incredibly helpful. I think it was just the start of 2023 where I felt like I had no choice but to go abstinent from everything, because my work wouldn't let me back until I passed a drug test every single day for about a month. And then having that, and that kind of having no choice effectively, really helped with the abstinence from everything. But then about 3 months down the line, I just got incredibly stressed with everything, and I started smoking weed again. And then once you start one thing, it kind of rolls on to the next thing, and everything kind of goes tits up. I was fairly high up in my role. I was a production line leader in a beetroot factory. I was doing substantially more than what was needed of me, and there was a lot of changes happening in the factory at the same time. There was, floor planning was entirely different. We were having some guy coming in who was doing efficiency checks. He would come over to me and try and get all his information from me, and I'm like, dude, I'm working. I have so much to do. And one day I was just like, I've had enough now. I can't do this on a sober brain anymore. And that's when I got back into smoking weed, and then slowly started everything else. Because once I started one, it kind of gave my mind permission in order to start using other things. When it came to, making the decision to stop the substances, it was, I don't know, it's almost like a flip just switched in my brain, and it was like, not doing that anymore. I've decided. I don't like being told what to do. But if it comes from myself, it's almost like there's a law or something in my brain where it's like, if I decide I'm not going to do something, or if I decide that I'm not allowed to do something, or if something is detrimental to me and my health, then I can kind of just go, kind of put it down and shove it away and say no more, which is effectively what I've done with the cocaine. It's very much like, in my head, it's not an option. Like, there is no option for it whatsoever. Obviously, most addicts, they feel very alone within themselves anyway, and they don't really connect to other people. But then I felt that on more of an intense level. And the first person that I spoke to at CGL was Andrea, who now works for Ciara's. I think I scared her away. It was amazing because I could just sit and I could speak with her, and everything that I was feeling, there was no judgment. There was no kind of looking at me strange. There was a little bit of looking at me strange, but that was kind of out of curiosity instead of a kind of, what's wrong with you? And having the ability to do that, it was incredible. And nowadays, if I have any kind of problems, if I have any kind of issues, I immediately go to my friends, because I know that if I kind of sit with myself and try and process it myself, I don't get anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere at all. And I end up just self-medicating for it, because I've got all of these feelings and I don't know what to do with them, and I don't know how to get rid of them. And that's kind of where the substance use comes in. Yeah, so in terms of understanding my feelings and, processing all of it, because I don't have that kind of connection going on within my brain, I need to find another person to speak to about it and translate it for me. And it's incredibly helpful. I'm very reliant on my friends in that way. I had some issues recently, and I was just at my friend's place nearly every day, because I found that if I didn't go and speak to them, I was just pacing around my flat, and I had all of this kind of built up energy of anxiety that I couldn't release in any way because I wasn't verbalizing it. And it has been recommended to me that I speak out loud to myself, but then I don't have anyone answering me. I feel like if I did have an internal monologue, then I could have someone answer me. What's next? For me, next is waiting 8 to 10 months to start ADHD medication, and finding out additional coping mechanisms during that time that I haven't thought about yet or even tried. And I'm going to be speaking to my key worker a lot about that. And just feeling more confident within myself, because if I feel more confident within myself, then I'm more likely to succeed. Because obviously if you doubt yourself, then a whole bunch of things can happen. Delving more into my artwork, doing more volunteering, connecting with the people around me, making some new friends, and actually listening to the people around me as well. Because obviously, people can give you bunches and bunches of advice, but it's only if you decide to listen. And I'm at a point in my life where I feel completely different to what I did when I first started CGL, and onwards and upwards and everything.
Your story can help others, and we'd love to hear it. Wherever you've been, wherever you are, how you got there. Whatever, it's up to you.